Am I a big crier? I don't think so. Maybe. No, I don't think so. No. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over the few books that have made me cry. Keep watching. As I'm sure you can tell, I am wearing my comfy sweater today. Nice and cozy. We want to be nice and cozy. This is probably one of the most comfortable sweaters I own. Anyways, let's get into the video. So I don't have the original of this book because my husband and I are about to spray the edges, so I currently have it wrapped up. But the #1 book that made me bawl my eyes out, Fourth Wing. If you have read this book, you know exactly what part I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. I literally don't think I've ever cried that hard in a book. And my husband, I remember he was like, what the heck happened? I'm like, oh my gosh. No spoilers. This person died. This person died. This person died. That's literally how it was. And then I had to explain to him the importance of this individual and why I loved this individual and what happened, how this individual died, and how that even begins to happen, and just a whole lot of stuff going on. But yeah. If you have never read this book, it is about Violet, who is at a war college, and she has to go into this thing called the Writer's Quadrant. Her mom actually put her into it, and I got a couple theories on that, but let's just not get into it. Mom sends her into the Writer's Quadrant where literally most of the people die, and at the end of it, a dragon either chooses you, doesn't choose you, or literally kills you. There's no in between or outside of that. That's it. If a dragon chooses you, you're now in the Writer's Quadrant, and there's a bunch of wars that happen, and love, and hate, and it's a big enemies to lovers. And I'm definitely not doing this book justice by how I'm describing it, guys, and you probably won't believe me by how I describe it, but it is my absolute favorite book. Go ahead and check it out if you've never heard of it or never seen it, never read it, you don't know anything about it, go check it out. Now the rest of these aren't in order of how hard they made me cry, I'm just how I picked them up. But the next one, this really spoke to my foster mama heart, and it is called The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. It's not that it's a sad book, it's just the fact that I'm a foster mama, and this talks about an individual who's a foster parent, and it really got to me, y'all. This is about a writer who was very famous, and he owned this place called Clock Island, where, I don't know, time just seems to run different there. Anyways, so he stopped writing books. He's like a big time recluse. And then he decides to put out a mysterious book. One time, but kids would come to this island escaping the situation at their homes, or when life's just getting too much, they would go to Clock Island and meet the author and tell them, and the author would end up having to call the cops and get the kids back to their parents just because that's just what you do. He invited, now that they're all grown up and that he's released this mysterious book, he has invited all of them back to Clock Island. And they're basically in this tournament to find a winner, and whoever wins this book, and they can either sell it, keep it, or do whatever, get it published, do whatever they want with it. Lucy is trying to win the book so that she can sell it and adopt this little boy that she's been wanting to adopt. So you just basically follow her as she goes throughout the games and see if she wins, and there's a bunch of twists and turns, and it's a great book. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. Check it out. Yeah. Next up is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Krista Broadbent. If you haven't read this book, it is basically like the Hunger Games, but with vampires and one human girl. And they're in this tournament, and it works just like how Hunger Games works. But whoever wins actually gets one wish, whatever they want, granted. She ends up meeting this man called Rain, and some stuff happens. I don't want to give spoilers, but some stuff happens, and There is a massive, massive twist at the end, and I actually ended up crying for a character that I didn't even think that I liked. So, highly suggest going to read it. It is a great book. I rated it 4.8 stars. It was almost a 5-star for me. It was very close, very close. I love this book. Okay, last but certainly not least is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. If you have read this book, you know how much I cried in this book. I think some of the reasons why I cried is because some of the parts were just so dang frustrating. I'm like, I just wanted to kind of just grab it. About to read A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I know that I'm just going to cry even harder at that book because I heard some stuff happens in that book. I'm just not ready for it. If you haven't read A Court of Mist and Fury, it is a continuation of A Court of Thorns and Roses, where there's this girl named Feyre, and she ends up, her family's very poor. They were rich, now they're poor. She ends up killing this wolf that ends up being like a fae, and it ends up being this guy's best friend, and this guy comes and he like crashes into her home, and he's like, "You killed my best friend." And then something happens. She ends up going to live with him. And then one thing after the next, stuff ends up happening. And then I can't tell you what happens in A Court of Mist and Fury because it will spoil what happens in A Court of Thorns and Roses. But I highly, 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 highly suggest reading the acotar series. I loved it. So yeah. That is all of the books that have made me cry, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it was a short video, but I did want to release this one. When books make me cry, they are really held near and dear to my heart. I love them. I really appreciate them if a book can make me cry, because I really don't cry at much. I don't cry at movies, and I don't cry in books necessarily. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And there is a notification button, so click that if you never want to miss a video that I release. I release every Monday, and I'm hoping soon to be adding another day to that list. So I'm hoping to release maybe a video every Monday and Thursday. We'll see how that goes. So stay tuned. Bye, guys. That'd be like a cool closing tone. Deep, deep, dop, beep, 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 bop.